Okay, so in this next step, we take these transceiver quads and we're going to combine them into one symbol. So instead of having, if we look here, we got a transceiver quad. We have 12 symbols, 220, 221, all the way to 237, which is 220, 221, 222, to 227, to 232, to 237. And what we'll notice on the 220, we've got these MGTA, VTT, RCal, and RS. On 221, we don't have those pins. And what happens is the RCal is a special, you can see this transceiver group has the RCal, but it works for all three of them. This one works for all three of them, this one works for all three of them, and this one works for all three of them. So what we're going to do is we're going to put those 220 on the bottom, we'll put 221 and 222, and we'll keep the RCal with that symbol. How do we do that? We go to the SDL, as always, and we're going to edit, send to the new SDL editor. And I had already created a transceiver banks for combine, so we're going to open that one. I had already copied it locally, so we're going to edit that include file, and we're going to take a peek. And then, so MGT RXP 3 to 0 220 is on the left. We have a spacer. We have the MGT 0P clock, the MGT 1P clock, and then we have MGT, AVT, RCal, and RF. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is do 220. Let's go to 222, 220, and 222, 221, and 220. We'll combine them into one symbol. So here we'll call it 222, 221, and 220. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll take this the signals out of this bank. So basically we can move this. We're going to move them up above 20. So we're going to start with 222. Let's take those, cut them, and we'll stick them in here. So there's 222. In between that, we're going to need a balanced symbol sides, and we'll do 2 spaces between this and the start of the next transceiver block. Then we want 221. So we'll take those, cut them out, and we'll put them right above the 220. We'll put them here. Okay, and we'll do another balanced symbol sides here. And again, we want 2 spaces in between them. So that'll end up giving us 222, 221, and 220 in one symbol. And because of that, we have to take out these lines. So we're going to delete that and save them. So in this case, since there's four of those, so do we want to do a loop or do we want to do it by hand? A loop is always going to be the most effective for us. But in this case, it's going to take 3 repetitives, 3 replicate statements, one for the 222s, one for the 221, and one for the 220. So let's go ahead, this symbol all the way to the end of symbol. Okay, we're going to go back to this replicate, and we're going to pick the replicate loop, and then remember we need 3 of these, so we need something like this one. Again, so we're going to copy. We use this as a place to copy. And so we have 222 is going to become, it's going to become 222, 227, 232, and 237. So we'll do 222, comma, 227, 232, 237. Okay? Then the next one in line is the 221. So 221, we're going to change to 221, 226, 231, and 236. So we'll do 221, 226, 231, and 236. And finally, we need one more of these. and that's going to be the 220. 220 will end up being 220, 225, 230, and 235. And so we're going to now wrap the selection. Okay, so now we have a replicate around the start and end of symbol. Again, so if it sees if it's going to go through it 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. The first time it's going to be 222 here. The second time it'll be 227. The third time it'll be 232, and the fourth time it'll be 237. We're going to run into some trouble here, so we also need to take care of this. The RS, we can see that this is the RS RCal, this is the RLC, the RUC, and RN. So we also need to put in here a conversion for RS. And we're going to do RS, comma, RLC. We're going to do RS equals underscore RS, RLC, RUC, and RN. Okay, so what that'll do is every time it comes through here, and it's the first time through it'll do an RS, the second time it'll do the RLC, the third time it'll do RUC, and the fourth time it'll do RN. So it's going to substitute that out for us. So we actually have 4 substitutions built into this loop. And we hit save. Now, that means from 225 on, we don't need any more. So we're going to come down to here, and we're going to do a delete. So with this and this long replicate, we are actually going to be able to build 4 symbols, one for this, one for this, one for this, and one for that. We're going to save that, and then we'll get out. And now we're going to run through the build step. And here we might see some errors if we got it wrong. If we got it right, we're going to be good. Looks like we got it right. And now let's go take a peek at our HTML symbol viewer. And here we are. We have the dedicated I/O banks. We have the generic I/O banks from 19 down to 38 and 78. We can notice now we have a total of 37 symbols. So we started with 66, now we're down to 37. Here is our transceiver bank. So we built a transceiver bank for 22, 21, and 20. And we can see it started with 222, 221, 220, and then we had the RS RCal signals. Okay, let's look at the next one. We have 227, 226, and 225, and we have the RLC RCals. We have the 232, 231, 230, and we have the RUC RCal signals. And then finally, the 237 down to 235, and the right north RCal signals.